What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're going to take a look at this. The Fission Drive V2 from Balaguer Guitars. Let's do it. What's up everybody, hope you guys are doing great. Today we are going to check out the Fission Drive V2 from Balaguer Guitars. Joe from Balaguer was nice enough to send me this pedal to review, and although the pedal is mine to keep, all thoughts and opinions are my own. I'm going to be honest with you guys as always. Balaguer Guitars, thank you guys very much for looking out and appreciate the opportunity. Real quick before we jump into the pedal, I'd like to encourage you guys to consider subscribing to my channel. What I do here is I go through lots of very cool high gain amps, overdrive and preamp pedals, pickups and guitars, and basically give you guys the most unfiltered, unbiased review that I can. The audio is simply an SM57 on a V30 99% of the time with no post-processing, so you guys are getting a very unprocessed audio sample to give you guys the best idea of how these things sound in the real world. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button and I hope to see you next time. Anyways, this pedal is really interesting. It serves multiple purposes. It is, number one, a preamp pedal. Now, it's got a modern and a vintage mode on the preamp side. The modern mode is kind of like a mid-gain type thing. It's very clear. It's got a very modern upper mid-range to it, so I could see it being really good for like low tuning, like gent type tones. Not that it's like super high gain or aggressive or anything like that. It's just very clear and punchy and almost has that kind of upper mid quack, as I describe it, that a lot of more modern guitar tones have. So that's very cool. And then down here in the vintage setting, it's more of like an old orange or matte amp type amp where it's kind of fuzzy and kind of woolly sounding, and there's not like a ton of clarity in the distortion. It's just a big, full sounding like rock and roll type distortion. So on top of that, the pedal can also be used as an overdrive in front of your amp, and we'll explore that real quick as well. Now, the intro clip that you guys heard was the pedal with the MXR M77 turned on in front of it. So the pedal as a preamp going into the clean channel of the Rev Generator Mark III actually takes a boost quite well, felt quite amp-like. So we were able to get some pretty cool tones just by doing that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn the pedal on. I'm gonna put everything at noon, put it in the modern mode, and we're gonna see how that sounds with no boost, anything else in front. Again, we're on the clean channel, mid and bass are at noon, and the treble is dialed down because I have the bright on to compensate. So it just, to me, the pedal just sounded better going through it like that. So here's the clean tone. Okay, kick the pedal on. So as you can tell, it's got a pretty modern sound to it overall. As it is right now, the bass is a little boomy. So we're gonna turn that bass down. That sounds really good, actually. We're gonna turn it up just a hair, and then we are going to turn the highs down a little bit. That sounds really good. We're gonna turn the pre-gain up to 3 o'clock. Now, what I've noticed on this pedal, the pre and post gains, I'm not exactly sure the design function of either, but typically your preamp gain is you know, your gain on a 5150 when you're turning that up, and then the post gain is kind of like your channel volume type deal. On here, I noticed that the pre and post both act as like saturation type gains, and they just seem to operate maybe at slightly different frequencies or something. So we'll explore both of those real quick. But here's what the gain, or the preamp gain at 3 o'clock. So as you can see, it adds some saturation, adds a little bit of thickness. Let's turn that post gain up to 3 o'clock as well and see how it sounds with both of those up at 3 o'clock. All right, so that's with both gains at 3 o'clock. Let's dime those babies. All right, so that's with both gains dined. And as of right now, the amp is loud in the room. We have essentially like no noise coming from the pedal, so it does a really good job at keeping the noise down, even with the gains cranked, so that's a nice touch. All right, so let's get a little bit more top end brightness, just a tad. That sounds really good. Let's see how it takes a boost. Let's put on the Deadweald Duality, green channel. Keeps the same general tone, definitely needs help in the low end once you kick a boost on. So we'll turn that low end up to about 1 o'clock. All right, so as you can tell, it takes the boost really well. It sounds fairly tight, and the low end kind of has a little bit of like, I guess, sag or bounce to it, so it feels a little bit more amp-like than you would expect from a distortion or a preamp pedal. It's essentially just a distortion pedal. So let's get a little bit more high end on that. That sounds great. Let's turn the gain on the Deadweald up just a hair to see if we can get a little bit more saturation out of it. All right, so that sounds pretty good. It doesn't seem to be adding too much. But either way, let's get a little bit more tone on here, and we'll crank the gain up a little bit more on the pedal just to see what happens, how the pedal takes it. I don't really like that. It sounds kind of unnatural, so I think it sounds best just kind of right here. Let's push the volume all the way up, see how it handles that. That sounds surprisingly good, guys. That sounds really nice, actually. For a pedal going into a clean channel, it's not super saturated, so keep that in mind. If you like really saturated, like 5150 type tones, probably won't dig this. It's definitely cleaner and clearer than that, but here's the KSR Eros drive out front. I have it clipping and thick mode here. So let's turn that level up. Let's turn the gain down. All right, that one sounds pretty good too. A little bit different flavor. Last but not least, let's try the MXR M77. That one actually sounds the best to me. Obviously, this one adds a little bit more noise, so keep that in mind, but that sounded really good going in the front of that. One thing I do want to point out is the master volume on here. I was trying to get the pedal to unity gain, but as you can tell, it's quite a bit louder on the clean channel. You kick this in. Okay, when I turned it up a little bit higher, there's kind of like a sweet spot on the pedal. It almost sounds like it's overloading the front of the amp, and it did this on a different amp that I tried too. So I don't know if the pedal is just kind of being pushed to its limits, trying to push out more output than it's capable of at 9 volts. That's a possibility. But as you can tell, it gets kind of farty. So overall, the 2 amps that I tried it on so far just didn't really like it. Now, going through the preamp might be a different story, but I also noticed when I was using it as a boost out front, there's a sweet spot with that master volume where it really just seems to kind of start overloading the signal no matter what and gets a little bit flubby. Otherwise, keep it right around that threshold volume, or the perfect spot, which is right around like 2 o'clock. You should be fine. Okay, so we're gonna go over into the vintage mode. It's quite a bit fuzzier and gainier. We're gonna turn these gains down a little bit, and while I do like some Doom and Stoner type stuff, I don't really know how to play it because I kind of focus on thrash, so I'm just gonna make something up here and hopefully it doesn't suck. So I don't know how to dial in cool tones for stuff like that, but to me that sounds pretty cool. Let's again hit it with a boost and see how it takes that. That sounds really good. Again, I'm not much of a Doom Stoner tone guy. I don't try to chase those tones, but that honestly was fun for me to play. Kicking the boost in kind of helped it, in my opinion, get a little bit more note separation. But again, most guys who are playing those tones aren't really looking for note separation. They're just looking for a big full sound, and this definitely does that. So we're going to try one more thing. We're going to put it in front of channel 3 as a boost on the rev generator, which channel 3 is the gain channel. So what I want to do is turn these down, the gains down all the way. We're going to keep the bass and the treble at noon, and in the modern mode, keep that level where it was. Okay, so here's the amp, channel 3 with no boost. All right, so let's kick this on as a boost. All right, so it brightens it up significantly. Let's pull this treble back. This treble knob is pretty touchy. Get a little bit more gain on the amp. It just turns it into a really modern sounding amp. I mean, it's already modern, but you turn it on, it just kind of accents that upper mid quack and the highs quite a bit. Turn the treble down a little bit more. How's that sound? God. The nice thing is it's fairly transparent as a boost out front. It really doesn't color the sound very much. Like I said, it adds a little bit of that upper mid frequency quack. But other than that, you don't notice really much of a change in tone when you kick it on. So if you're looking for a clear boost that has a lot of output, we're gonna turn that post gain up and see how that affects things. We're gonna put it up to 9 o'clock. So that it kind of seems to add to the saturation that it adds to the tone, and it also seems to add a little bit of a low mid growl in there. That's actually, that sounds pretty cool. So again, no boost. Pull the bass back a little bit, and a boost. And both of the EQ knobs have a lot of sweep in them, so like if you're trying to fine tune this to your amp, cab, guitar, whatever, the bass and the treble especially. They both have a significant effect on the overall tone, so you can really shape the EQ from the pedal going into the amp. There's a lot of flexibility in both the bass and the treble. So me personally, I actually kind of want to throw this on my board for the band that I play Drop C Hardcore in, and use the bass to kind of tighten things up. And the guitar that I use for that tends to be a little on the darker side, so the added treble frequency from here, I actually think would really complement it quite well. So I'm gonna try that very soon. Overall, this pedal is 199 bucks new. For all the versatility that you get out of it, and in my opinion, it accomplishes all three things that it sets out to do really well, and ultimately really in a unique way. There's not another pedal out there that really functions as both an overdrive and a preamp pedal and accomplishes both well. It sounds fairly natural. It doesn't sound as much like a pedal as some of the other stuff that I've tried. If you have a really fine ear, you'll probably be able to pick it out. But as far as like in a recording or a mix, you're gonna be able to get some really cool, unique tones out of this thing. And like I said, the only thing that I can really think of that as a complaint is the master volume seems to overload, or the pedal seems to clip or something like that once you get past a certain point. So you can't quite bring the pedal or the distortion to unity gain with your clean if you're trying to use it as almost like a channel type switch pedal. Otherwise, man, it sounds great. I give it my recommendation for sure. I really appreciate Balaguer sending me that to check out. I wasn't really expecting much from it because it's just not the type of pedal that I would typically use. I don't typically use distortion or preamp pedals all that often, but I found myself pleasantly surprised with all the capabilities and everything that this thing has to offer. So the only other thing I would say is that purple LED, Joe, that's sweet, but it's really dull. Make that thing brighter. Other than that, that's it. I think it's a great pedal, 199 bucks. Check it out, Balaguer Guitars. Kyle here again. I would appreciate it if you hit the like button on your way out. Consider subscribing to this video if you guys enjoyed the content here. I'm gonna have a lot more coming, very similar, including a full-on demo of this Mark III generator that Rev sent me. So thank you guys for being here. Kyle here again. We'll see you guys next time.